Well, and many may not realize that you built the mid 2000s Ford GT, right? And the late 2000s Dodge Viper. How did those opportunities come about? I mean, here you were building now on someone else's badge versus your own.
It those were both were great opportunities. When we came out with the S7, is I kept Ford top management of Ford Motor Company informed of what we were doing and what we were about to debut and what our intentions with the vehicle were. And so we came out with it, and then that was ended up being very successful. In addition to that, then a couple years later, Ford was looking at doing their own ground up sports car, and they went through several iterations under what they called the code name Petunia. And then the Petunia project turned into being the Ford GT slash 40 on it that they debuted at the Detroit Auto Show in 2002. And Ford was looking at it as strictly as a show car, but the reception that they had was so great that they wanted to look and see what would be involved in taking that into production. And that's where we were then, because of my relationship with Ford on this, we were then asked to get involved with helping to deal with the engineering aspect of it and also the limited build. And we ended up with two separate contracts with Ford. One was overseeing the engineering and the certification with it. I moved a fellow by the name of Neil Hanneman, who was one of our main guys on the S7, relocated him back to Detroit to work with SVT and John Coletti and Ford to engineer the vehicle. And then the other contract I had was the complete build and assembly and paint of the vehicle. And I had to set up a facility back in Detroit, Troy, Michigan to be specifically. And we manufactured as private label all of the vehicles and shipped them directly to the Ford dealer with the Ford badging and the window stickers for the Ford dealers. And then after that, the next project we ended up doing is because I had a first-class automotive assembly in the Detroit area, is we got involved with Dodge and the Viper to do all of the sub-assemblies and the paint for them on the Viper program. And then we also did the supercharged version of Ford for the F-150 Harley-Davidson edition as well. And so that's what really kind of got me more in the OEM, what is the large OEM build.
What did you learn from producing Halo cars for major OEMs?
It's again, when you're dealing with very large companies, you need to be very nimble on and focus on your role and the aspects that you on doing that. But it also offered a whole litany to elevate, if you will, our production, our just-in-time, our quality controls, the manufacturing skill sets that are used to do those type of vehicles. And so I would say that, you know, that those experiences are always ongoing and are always very educational, as well as great building blocks for what we do with our own vehicles.
Is there more pressure, Steve, when you're involved with something like that than when it's your own?
Well, I think I would say it's I'll use this as an analogy. Whether it doesn't have to be cars. If someone has entrusted you for some aspect of doing something for them, I would say there's always pressure that you have to do a better job that you've been entrusted to it than if it was your own, that you have to do it on yourself, because you can modify your own expectations or timetable or whatever. But when someone else asks you to do a job, it is a lot more scrutinized, and you have a lot more responsibilities to deliver.
Yeah, well said. So many other manufacturers. I mean, we mentioned the Viper, but there have been others who have benefited from the Saleen treatment. You did Challengers before there were Hellcats. You did Camaros. You even did Tesla.
Yeah.
How? So do you approach each brand differently, or is there a Saleen DNA that applies across all of those cars?
Well, I think, well, first of all, I guess there's a basic DNA. This is because I'm heavily involved in the development of all of those, both as from a racing background into the product development cycle on this. Is the one thing that has served me well is to be able to translate what I learned on vehicle dynamics and everything from powertrains, suspension, aerodynamics, ergonomics on this. I'm able to translate that from both a high performance driving racing into street driving, and that has always served me very well in the evaluation of a whole vehicle. The other thing, though, that I would say is that we've also, since we've been doing it for 43, 44 years now, we have also been able to really learn what should or could not get done, both from a commercial standpoint, from a cost-effective standpoint, from a physical standpoint, has served us well in the development of the vehicles. And we're able to, I think, apply that much more effectively and much more cost-effectively. And that's where our current lineup of our Mustangs and the truck benefit that. Not that they're inexpensive cars, because they're not. They're premium cars. But the cost effectiveness and our tier offering them through established dealer network on this deal has given us, if you will, a pretty good advantage from a competition standpoint to be offering a product that the consumer can purchase complete to have a higher level of performance, safety, features, exclusivity, which helps the collectability of it, at a price point that is more within reach with a lot of people, even though it's a premium brand.